seen things you people would.
Hello everyone, this is Brian at Whisper Status 74. You're watching Dying Light 2 on the Xbox Series X, shown on the Samsung QN90A Mini LED, recently released at 98 inches. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zone of Value Electronics for supplying the Samsung QN90A Mini LED. I had the pleasure of being able to film in their Scarsdale location after hours. Had the keys to the store. Pretty amazing to be able to game and film at my leisure for about 5 to 6 hours. You're not hearing any sound in the game as this was filmed during a live stream with Shane from Spare Change. So unfortunately I had to take out the volume and am recording this after. So you have about 20 minutes of me talking, but I have a lot to say about Samsung, their history, and the concerns we have with gaming that I feel are not really an issue here. Dying Light 2 is a gorgeous title. What you're seeing here actually is an SDR. Dying Light 2 does not have HDR support. And I do feel it looks amazing. Very responsive, very beautiful. Samsung is interesting. Either you love their presentation, their colors, or you don't. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I want to talk about Dying Light quickly. Excellent game. Open world. Beautiful graphically. We are in the resolution mode here, which I find to be the best looking mode. And I find the Samsung to be very responsive. Now, I typically game on OLEDs, so there is a adjustment of getting used to the lack of instant pixel response you see on an OLED. But going from an OLED to an LED, that is the biggest change other than the contrast ratio. And I found the Samsung easy to get used to within the first 10 minutes of playing. I was completely fine with its pixel response, not motion, pixel response. And I found it to be a joy to game on, no issues. It has a very low input lag. Now, Samsung instantly, when you engage it, very few companies do as good a job as Samsung does as we transition over to Forza Horizon 5, also in resolution mode. Samsung picks up what it is, sets it up. It automatically puts you in this HDR variable refresh rate mode. Now, it is an IPS panel, surprisingly enough, which is why it has such amazing viewing angles on top of being mini LED. But nothing that I saw in terms of its image quality, even with movies, which I can't show due to copyright, did I feel that it looked like an IPS panel at all. Very colorful. Now, Samsung has done what I am not a fan of, and many of you are aware of this, is the local dimming is basically not a factor when it comes to being put in game mode. You're still allowed to go from low, medium to high. You can't all the way disable it. However, low, medium, and high do absolutely nothing once you're in game mode. I do not love this simply because I enjoy my games picture quality to be more cinematic. I'll actually trade in input lag for that, simply because we have multiplayer games where you're running around trying to be competitive, and then you have games that are more cinematic, games you like to see the environments you like to explore, especially caverns and dark areas. You want all that to be as beautiful as possible. Now, if you're used to gaming on a monitor, you're used to a lower contrast ratio and higher response and lower input lags. When you have displays that are this expensive, you expect all of the above. You do want the picture quality to be beautiful, which is why I think OLEDs tend to have the advantage in gaming in terms of the picture quality. However, There is a game slider on this. Unfortunately, I think I edited it out trying to put all the footage together. Similar to LG's Game Optimizer, you're able to drop the black level, and all of the footage here, it's -5. And it looks absolutely amazing. The one thing the OLEDs can't even come close to touching is the peak brightness. It is the way HDR hits in the sun, in the skybox. Now, another concern of Samsung panels is primarily DSC, banding, and there isn't any on this panel. This panel is also $14.99. It's about $15,000. My thoughts on why this is a clean panel is the QC is very different when you have a special panel made by a company. I'm not even sure if they've made the panel themselves. There are very few of these made, so the QC is top-notch. I would imagine if this was made in bulk by Samsung or any other company, I believe TCL is doing 8K large panel. I expect that is treated much differently, even though it's still very expensive. But the screen uniformity is fantastic. Now, Forza Horizon 4, 3, whatever you want to do, I'll show you the 4 demo in a minute. Forza Horizon 4 and 5, the skybox is notorious for its banding, and for LEDs, it's jail bars. Now, jail bars can be the in-between of zones. There is no grid effect on Samsung panels, but they are notorious for having the jail bars. The AK900R that I had a few years ago was notorious with that. When you panned, you could see faint lines. You see in the video here 4K 60. This is what I'm filming it at. It's what you should be seeing it at as well. Nothing. Now, I think that is, better QC, but also mini LED, more zones, taking away the jail bar aspect that you see with full array local dimming. Now to another SDR. So we went SDR, HDR, SDR. I wanted to do Dragon Ball Z is that it is a colorful, fast game. There was no pixelation or motion problems. And again, those of you that hate Samsung, there is absolutely nothing I can do in this video to convince you to not hate them. I like to let Samsung run wild. If the colors are too saturated, you can turn them down. I will be returning where Dwayne D. Nice, the well-known calibrator, will be calibrating the Samsung, and we'll see how it looks with accurate colors. If you don't like Samsung in regards, here I am showing you the scale where the fighters are the size of a small child. If you don't like Samsung, and in the comments, you're free to say what you like. I am not here to convince you to like their look. But this is where they excel in gaming. More importantly, guys, where they excel is their presentation in store. When you walk in, accurate or not, it's 3D, it's colorful, it's saturated, and to the average person or the average consumer, that will be the one to catch your eye. If you're in love with accuracy, if you're in love with the most accurate image, Samsung is not the place to go. They are notoriously difficult to calibrate, which we will talk to D-Nice when we do show that video. But I prefer Samsung to run wild. I've stated this in many of the videos where I cover them. Either you like them or you don't. They are the largest TV company in the world. They are first. So our opinions don't matter too much to them. I've done videos on that as well. No pixelation, very, very responsive. Part of why local dimming gets compromised, but again, the game optimizer bar that they have and they started, you can go -5. I know Samsung is looking to do 240 hertz gaming in their next generation. Not sure why that would be important to you guys, as our consoles are pretty much tapped at 120. But if you have a PC, that would be amazing. I know they have ultra wide features as well. What's also interesting is me gaming in front of an 83-inch panel every single day. It's incredible that I went from the 98-inch, and I gamed a little bit on the A90J at 83, and it felt tiny. Now, also what I want to say is gaming on the 83-inch, the Samsung, for several hours. I went over to the A90J Master Series and I gamed a little bit there. I was expecting to feel the OLED to mini LED difference in terms of, oh my God, thank God I'm back on the OLED. I didn't feel that. There was nothing about this gaming experience that made me say, oh my God, get me home. Let me get back to my C1. Now my C1 is in a completely dark room. I am close to it. The C1 is a better gaming panel than the A90J. And the A90J was in a brighter room, but it shows you that you're not really compromising a lot. This is the Forza Horizon demo. To me, Forza Horizon is a better game. I love the showcases in this game. So I showed you some free world Forza 5 demo. Here is the Forza 4 demo, which looks fantastic. It covers all the seasons in the game. Now, occasionally what you're going to see is some of the light reflecting from the Sony X92 that is to my right, as Shane was live streaming both panels. But for gaming, I prefer the Samsung. Again, the saturation, the 3D image. Now, pixelation at this size is evident when you get very close to the panel. You're talking about 2-3 feet. You can actually see the aliasing in the trees. Now, you wouldn't see that as much if we were gaming on a PC that was running real 4K and not dynamic resolution. But the pixelation does start to happen on a panel this size. This is where 8K, and we will be doing lots of gaming in 8K with the new Samsung flagship, as well as the Sony Z9K. We will have much gaming footage, similar to what you see here. Now, you hear me bring up Robert and Value Electronics, as there is no filming this kind of panel on this entire platform. Shane from Spare Change and I are the only people covering this TV, and that's not possible without their help and their hospitality. For them to let me be there at night till very late at night and film it, that's why you hear them brought up so often, as they are a large part of my community, myself, and my channel, and they're great friends. Check the description for all of Robert and Wendy Value Electronics information, and please consider making your AV purchase through them. As I mentioned, not possible to film anything like this. And it's on me, guys, to do more content, to get down there, to not just film one video on it and show you, but to go down there and do several. And you're going to see that with every major panel released this year, from the top three, Samsung, Sony, and LG. So please put your requests for me and Robert in the description of this video on what you want to see this year. I cannot show you movies due to copyright. But look at the way Forza, the way the purple, the blue, everything leaps off the screen. Now, I know this gets to be an argument. Accuracy. That is the director's intent. That is something that's to the individual. Preferences. I don't need my games to look natural or accurate. I'm in the middle. I like pop. I love high peak brightness. Just because I have OLEDs doesn't mean I'm not still a huge LED fan. And if one of these LEDs grabs me this year, whether it's a Samsung or a Sony, I will make the switch from my C1. I was that impressed. And this year, being able to show you a TV like I did last year, which was the QN90A, we were the first on the platform to show you that 8K unboxing. I'll be able to follow up with that panel. A good amount of them I'll be bringing home this year. So it's a very exciting year, and it's a great collaboration between me and Robert. But I will give him his respect and give him his props, as it doesn't work without him in regards to bringing you this content. It's only right. I'm in his home filming this. And I do feel their store is their home. So you will see them featured in the videos where they're talked about. Now also, let me know if you want to see Xbox Series X, PS5, a bit of both. The challenge with these consoles is their memory is so limited that they have to be online. And my Xbox was actually behaving weirdly. It kind of knew it wasn't home. Which is why some of the games worked. Halo stopped working, which is why it's not here. And Doom stopped working, which is why it's not here. Now, I gained a lot of that during the live stream. But then I had to film it after. So it's kind of hard with all the equipment that Shane was using to live stream for me to film. Forgive that sound of the water. Forgive me for that. It's a challenge of having your studio in your basement. Now, as we transition over to Unreal, or I should say, Gears 4. Again, I like Gears 4 better than I like Gears 5 as far as a game. I love this scene. Now, this scene also for me was one where I used to watch or play on my KS8000 and my higher peak brightness TVs. And LEDs capture this a way that OLEDs can't. Even with the higher contrast ratio, it's just the way this lightning pops in this image. You can only see on LEDs. Now, OLED fans such as myself will argue the contrast ratio. There is no perceived peak brightness that can really hang with real peak brightness. You can't have it all. And I love that blinding specular highlights, even on the gun here. I love that. Now, for me, chasing that peak brightness, I will not compromise the blacks, which is why I haven't gone back to LED just yet. Samsung will always give me pause, as their quality control is not very good. Their customer service is even worse. So it's very hard, and I've done it, to spend $6,000-$7,000 on a flagship panel and to think you may be stuck with it. Now, I'd argue with the size that we're getting at here with the 100 X92 and the obviously 98 QN90A and the 97-inch LGs that'll be here, which you'll see them as well. You argue that where does 8K really fit in? As these consoles can't do 4K, truthfully. I'm sorry, they can't. They do a lot of 4K up conversion, dynamic resolution, so they are underpowered. They will have their mid-cycle refresh in the next year or so. They still won't be able to do 8K. Maybe 8K 30. But where does 8K belong? And we'll see when we game at 8K this year. Is it cleaner? Is it sharper? We'll do some comparisons to whatever 4K flagship is in the store at the time. But having this freedom to film after hours, to not interrupt business, is really a gift and shows tremendous trust. And to thank you guys, as it also shows how pleasant and welcoming our community is. That we're a community that, you guys are just that good and that warm and that genuine. This is the Matrix demo. Very good looking demo. I expected it to be extremely grainy. It is a grainy demo. It is trying to show you the same visuals as the original Matrix movie. You can remove the grain on it. You can get into the settings. I didn't really have time to do that. But again, the specular highlights, the sparks, the explosions, the smoke. Now, no trouble with processing either. The sparks, the smoke, no pixelation, no motion problems. Samsung also handles their motion differently. They have excellent pixel response. It just feels differently than Sony's and LG's. LEDs, I mean. No issues at all. Now, what I don't love, obviously, is I'd love to have a deeper image simply because local dimming is to some degree compromised. I'd rather they have a cinema mode and then a multiplayer mode. Having the game optimizer that they have is definitely helpful. I'd love to see that go a little farther. Let me take the blacks -10. It didn't crush anything. It's a mini LED after all. Panel is extremely clean, and the vibrancy is unreal. Now, coming home and playing on my C1, did I miss the peak brightness? I didn't, simply because, oh, right there you see it, simply because my OLED is very inky. I do like the colors more saturated on my LG. I do like the deeper blacks, and I'm in a completely dark room. But if I was in a room with even a little bit of light, I think I would have missed the Samsung more. I did miss the size. Also, quickly before the video ends, I do feel that this is the sweet spot. Anything larger than 100 inches, you're definitely into projector territory. So they are encroaching on each other's territory here. I do not like gaming on a projector. I've gamed on several of them. I do prefer a TV. But as projectors come down in price and TVs like this grow in size, quality ones at this size are very expensive. For this price, $15,000, you can get one of the highest end consumer projectors, JVC or Sony. We're going to finish up with some drone footage on Matrix. Please put in the comments again what you'd like to see from me this year. I can do live streams from their location. I can bring these TVs home. Well, not the 100-inch ones. You'll see the smaller OLEDs brought home. You're going to see comparisons versus the G2 and the A90. We're going to have the QD OLEDs at launch. So please stay tuned in. You'll see prices, release dates very soon. This is a very cool demo. I'd love to see it incorporated to some real gameplay. But again, let me know what you want to see. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Samsung QN99 QN90A. Again, a real treat to be able to film something this large for this long. I'll film it next time alone so you can actually hear the sound, but it's hard to narrate the sound and play at the same time. And again, special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zone of Value Electronics. Check the description or visit their Scarsdale location. And please consider making your AV purchase through them. Speakers, amplifiers, turntables, audio, visual, everything they have. But in the end, I was blown away, very impressed with it, and I would definitely consider buying the QN90A, even the smaller sizes, if I can guarantee that I would have a clean panel. And I will tell you, this is the cleanest Samsung I have ever seen, and I've owned many and reviewed many. Thank you as always, and take care. Love you guys.